What a historic moment it has been for India and Indians across the globe. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi today sent out a message to the world, the importance of India as the mother of all democracies. He spoke about the 21st century India, which is stronger, more aspirational, more powerful today than ever before. He even spoke about the power of the 140 crore people of Bharat that inspires the world to fight the global challenges, whether it is COVID or setting up digital interfaces for ease of doing business. If it's possible for India to do it, then the roadmap is already set for the world to emulate. Truly, the progress of India is the prosperity for the entire globe. In this special telecast, I get to speak to Indians living from across the globe. There are speakers today who have joined me from UK, from US, Australia and from Canada. How proud they feel today of the new milestone India has achieved. And let's open up this discussion. I'm going to start off my conversation with Rick Mehta. He's a Republican leader. He joins me from New Jersey in America. Rick, my first question is going to be for you. Sitting miles away from the country, how does it feel as India achieves this once-in-a-lifetime milestone of the new parliament building being inaugurated today?
First of all, let me say thank you so much. I'm joining you here from beautiful New Jersey in the United States. It's a proud moment for all of us, and not just as part of the India diaspora, but I would say anybody who believes in freedom, democracy, and looking at the parliament building as a symbol, as a beacon, really marking a true testament to the vision that Prime Minister Modi has achieved, he's carved out. And if you look at his accomplishments through his entire administration, this really marks as not just a symbol for India, but it should be a proud moment for every country that believes in the truthfulness and the power of having a democracy and capitalist society. And India now becoming one of the 5th largest economies, one of the most powerful economies in that side of the world, challenging some of the other countries we see like China that doesn't have freedom at the top of their minds. I got to tell you, I give my hats off, a huge hearty congratulations. It's my true honor to join and to congratulate Prime Minister Modi and the entire party. I'll tell you, this really is more than just the symbol or the hubris of one or two people. This will be a long-lasting testament to the change that India has overcome, especially over the last 75 years since India's broken free from British rule and has really stood on their own feet. It's truly an honor and it's a proud moment for everyone across the country, across the world.
Absolutely. Rick, also, we over here were glued into our television screens from 7 a.m. onwards when the entire ceremony began of the inauguration of the Parliament building. Was a similar atmosphere being witnessed among Indian families, friends, societies living abroad, living in your locality?
Absolutely. I mean, there has been a lot of excitement on this side. Listen, that building now is, like I said, a more of a symbolic connection for the India diaspora. And so just like you'd be glued to a cricket match, many of us have been glued in front of our TVs watching this inauguration, the unfolding, and just seeing the massive transformation that's been taking place in India and feeling proud from abroad.
And a question for you and every single member of the Indian diaspora community that lives across the globe. Now, as important as it was practically to build this new parliament complex, it was equally important to make a symbolic gesture which marks a shift from functioning under the shadow of the British era, which the old parliament building symbolizes, to an India that has come of age, that is much stronger, aspirational and ready to take on the world. How much agreement are you in this statement that has been made by the country?
That's exactly my point, right? This is a coming out moment for India, a debutante at the ball. India is now a real challenger in the world economy, especially as you see some of the macro trends going on with the tensions building with China, more supply chain manufacturing looking to push over towards countries that have freedom and democracy, where you can create free trade agreements and have them honored. India, this is a symbol, not just, again, a testament for the vision that Prime Minister Modi has carved out, but what the future of India is going to be as a world player. Right now, they have the 5th largest economy. I could see that being competitive significantly with China and making sure that they have the right partnerships with the United States and other like-minded countries that put freedom, constitutional rights, and democracy first.
Absolutely. Rick, stay on with me, because while we speak about these points that have been raised particularly by Prime Minister Narendra Modi of how India has come of age and how the challenges that India faces, and if it's able to overcome these challenges, it sets a roadmap. It's like a ready reckoner or a handbook for the world to then emulate and follow. And let's quickly listen into what Prime Minister Narendra Modi said earlier today when he was addressing the parliament members as well as the country.
21वीं सदी का नया भारत बुलंद हौसले से भरा हुआ भारत अब गुलामी की उस सोच को पीछे छोड़ रहा है। आज भारत प्राचीन कला की उस गौरवशाली धारा को एक बार फिर अपनी तरफ मोड़ रहा है। जब भारत आगे बढ़ता है तो विश्व आगे बढ़ता है। भारत जैसा विविधता से भरा देश, इतनी बड़ी आबादी वाला देश, इतनी सारी चुनौतियों से लड़ने वाला देश जब एक विश्वास के साथ आगे बढ़ता है तो इससे दुनिया के अनेक देशों को प्रेरणा भी मिलती है। आज यदि भारत तेजी से गरीबी दूर करता है तो ये कई देशों को गरीबी से बाहर आने की प्रेरणा भी देता है।
Rick, you heard it from the Prime Minister. It could not have been said in better words. He said, जब भारत आगे बढ़ता है तब विश्व आगे बढ़ता है, and this keeping in mind that there is a population, the largest population of the world is in India at 140 crores, and that's exactly what I was mentioning about, that if there is a challenge that is faced by the world, and there is an example that has already been set, the pandemic that hit the entire world, and the way India was able to overcome and fight out the challenge by way of not just providing vaccines to the 140 crore people in our country twice over, but also sending out vaccinations and medical supplies to across the globe. As Vasudev Kutumbakam is the motto of our country. So do Indians in America and you and your family and your friends in society also feel this sort of a sentiment that connects you with India as well as the world?
Absolutely. I mean, this is exactly the point. When Prime Minister Modi speaks, talking about his entire vision, and I love the words that he said recently at the Summit for Democracy. He said, those that are feeling suffocated today, those that are corrupt yesterday are the ones feeling suffocated today, right? That sentence alone, it really marks the true testament of his vision of changing the economy. And of course, the diaspora here in the United States feel very proud that the home roots of the country that they came for, that they still associated from, are shifting the model, changing for the betterment of the country and the vision that he's laid out. But it's more than just a vision, right? And I think what I think is remarkable about Prime Minister Modi's actions and his words, whether it was through the pandemic, building the parliament, or where he's going, is that it's more than just a vision, it's also an execution, right? And you need a leader that follows through with the words that he says. And those are the ones that oftentimes make the best leaders. I have two behind me that I'm very proud of. And it's always these men and women that execute on their words is the ones that really are the ones that mark an indelible mark in the annals of time. So 100% agree with those sentiments. And I'm excited to see what the next changes and the next vision for India will be now that we have the parliament building built.
Also, Rick, how significant has been the contribution of the Indian diaspora community in taking India where it stands today? Keeping in mind there has been a celebration and commemoration of the Indian government, the Prime Minister of India, the Pravasi Divas that is celebrated every year, and the important figures, the significant people who have made India proud, living across the borders, across the globe, people like you, who are testament to how great India is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at it, it's quite remarkable. You know, my father notes this quite often, where you have, Indian, who is now the Prime Minister of Britain. You have many accomplished diaspora all across the United States, England, sort of the coming of the age of many of us that have taken our roots in our principles and our philosophies, our religion that has stemmed from India, and being able to apply it across the continent. I think that's quite remarkable. In fact, I see that I'm joined here by Dr. Shivanji too, a real, again, testament here in the United States in terms of leaders that may be of Indian origin, but are creating influence in their home country. And again, the impact that the diaspora has, but the ties, and I think this is what Prime Minister Modi has done such a good job. He's not just doing this for India, but he's doing it for Indians. And so speaking more globally, you have 1.4 billion, I think, maybe even more diaspora out there that also feel connected to his vision and what's happening. And so this is the reason why we'll have our TV on at 4 o'clock in the morning to be able to catch many of these historical moments that are taking place.
Rick, how dramatically has the perception of the global community changed towards India? From once being called the land of cows and snake charmers to the country that produces the best of the brains, the country that has its countrymen running the global big tech companies, the country that is capable of fighting pandemics of the scale of COVID-19 and then being equipped enough to help out the rest of the world as well.
Yeah. Well, India's still the country of cows and snake charmers. The difference is we're proud of that, right? We shouldn't be embarrassed of that. This is the origins. This is our history. These are the roots, right? And so what we've seen is that we can still hold our culture and not change that while still being a very powerful force in the world stage, in the world economy, not running away from the roots of what our traditions and our history are. I think that's critical. I think that's really important, right? United States is a melting pot. We have assimilated many cultures, right? India's roots go much deeper as, before the colonial time. And I think that tie back is very critical to, like I said, with the fifth largest economy, more and more contracts of supply chain, free trade agreements, shifting over of doing business in India. Prime Minister Modi is saying India is not only open for business, but we are going to be the leaders in this free world and the economy. And with the rising tensions between Russia, Ukraine, China, Taiwan, India has to be a very important pillar for freedom and for democracy. Very critical.
Talking about the crises that have been continuous in Eastern Europe region, also G20 delegations that are going to be arriving, the heads of states in September 2023, and India has been at the forefront of grabbing headlines internationally. What significance is India going to bring when all the top nations and their heads are going to be arriving in India in September? And what's the message that will go out to the world?
Yeah, well, that's always an exciting time, especially for the diaspora. Well, first, it generates a lot of money and a lot of business for local businesses, so it's always a great thing. But beyond that, it's the symbol of the importance and the parliament of, right? So when you're looking at, for example, when Prime Minister Modi and President Trump a few years ago came to Texas, I mean, the kind of buzz, the sellout of the stadiums, it's an incredible vibe. Even words can't really explain the amount of pride and feelings. But again, it's a testament to the Prime Minister's leadership, his vision, and his execution on his vision. And that's the reason why so many diaspora are continue to be tied back and glued, again, to the television, to the policies, to the things that are going on. It's, again, an incredible time in history. Again, as I said, it's like a debutante in a ball. It's a coming of age. India is now ready to dance, and they're dancing, and it's exciting.
Thank you, Rick, for your comments, for your views on this big milestone that India has achieved and a very proud moment for Indians living over here, us of course, and people living over there in America, in several other parts of the world. Let me also get into the conversation right now. Dr. Sampath Shivangi is the chairperson of the Mississippi State Board for Mental Health. He lives in Mississippi and he joins me from across several miles. It's good to have you on the telecast, sir. And my first question again, what's your first reaction? How does it feel? Is it an emotive feeling that sitting miles away from India, this is a milestone that India has achieved? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for every Indian worth their salt to witness this virtually or physically, this momentous occasion that India is celebrating today.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for inviting me to be one of the speakers. I'm here for last 50 years in the United States, and our heart beats for India wherever we are, as Rick mentioned. As you mentioned, it's a momentous moment for India or Indian diaspora, wherever they are, to see we are the last shackles of colonialism. The old parliament is not there anymore. We are a new India and a new parliament, a new leadership has brought tremendous progress to economy and the well-being of Indians in India. I was there just last month. I couldn't believe the progress India has made. I mean, when I left in my town, where there were 1 or 2 cars, now I go 5 to 10,000 cars in a small town like where I come from. What the economy has tremendously progressed, and hats off to Indian leadership, especially Modi ji and his team. In last 9 years, they have transformed India beyond recognition. I am much grateful to them. And the Sangal controversy, I think why not? This was created by Cholas and Pandyas, and it is a heritage of India. I think why we should contest. Indians, wherever they are Indians first. So I don't think these few political controversies should be ended. We should salute our parliament. We should entertain the democracy in India, which has been there but continue to be there. And we look forward to much more prosperity. I was told in 6 years, India may be the 3rd largest economy in the world. I look forward to that. And as Indians in diaspora, we do contribute to the best of Indian causes.
Absolutely. And so, how has been the sentiment of the Indian community living in America and Mississippi in your locality? We over here in Indians were very enthusiastic, got up early in the morning, watched the telecast on our screen. Has there been a similar sentiment amongst Indians living abroad?
Absolutely. I think it is a long weekend for Americans living in the US. We have 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, Monday is a holiday. So we are glued to television and newspapers and WhatsApp messages and all the television stations. We have maybe hundreds of them. And it's a great occasion. I think we should never forget where we came from, 75 years ago and where we are. I think it's a proud moment. As Mr. Mehta said, the whole IT industry in the United States, you take Microsoft, you take Google, you take Adobe, everywhere Indians dominate IT industry. So also the largest number of appointees in Biden administration, even though I'm Republican, but Mr. Biden appointed me to the mental health, the national mental health. That means we got, largest number of appointments to Indian Americans in the US. I think that is a positive point for any one of us to look at.
Absolutely, sir. And also I asked this question to Rick, and I'm going to raise it again with you as well, Dr. Shivangi, that while there is a practical need for a new parliament complex, and that's why it was built, the old building was stressed, it was dilapidated, it did not have the newest technology, it was not an eco-friendly building, but at the same time, how symbolic is it for India to shift from a colonial era building that was built in 1927 under the leadership of, under the monarchy of the then king, that was King George V, to now building this temple of democracy that is intrinsically Indian?
Absolutely. I mean, it looks so beautiful. I had my eyes could not get out of looking at the parliament, and what a beautiful architecture. And so I was more impressed with the Senegal. I know it's a controversial thing, but still, we need to continue our hierarchy, our past history. We should not get out. Modi ji did right thing in the last minute, inviting Senegal and installing in the parliament. It's a symbol of Indianness. It's not Hinduism or any other religion. But I'm, much admiration of what is happening in India. Parliament building looks. I think I mentioned it before. We need to get out of British environment, British roots, whatever we have. I think we need to get out. Of course, as you said, Rishi Sunak is a symbol of Indianness in the UK. So also Northern Ireland, we have a prime minister there, and so many other countries in Fiji Island, and we have Indian, leaders bringing the Indianness into those countries as well. I think we are proud Indians in America. We continue to be there. We are almost 3.5 million Indian Americans in the US. I think we are flourishing. We are doing well, and we want to contribute to India in whatever way we can, and we have continued to do that.
Absolutely. There's also been a lot of domestic murmur, rumors, politics rows that have overshadowed the new parliament building inauguration. What has been the perception of the Indian diaspora with regards to the opposition boycotting the event? You spoke about how the Senegal controversy has also erupted here in India, and several other issues that have been raised with regards to the new parliament. How has the Indian diaspora reacted in America?
I would say 90% are in favor of new parliament. I think those are petty politics being played by other parties. I mean, I am really ashamed of what is happening in India. I think we should welcome new democracy, new parliament, new thinking, new way of life in India. Why go back to the old dirty politics being played now? I mean, if you don't like it, sometimes we have to, swallow it and move on. And I don't think we should have, actually, it was Nehru dynasty who started the change of power in 1947. Why now it is different when the hierarchy of Rahul Gandhi and their dynasty is opposing this? I don't understand. This same Senegal was given to Prime Minister Nehru. He readily accepted, given by the South Indian Rajaji. I mean, advised by Rajaji. So what difference it makes? I think we should try to build a India that's, the world leader in the next few years. Not forget about petty politics, petty thinking, and we should move on. Rahul Gandhi is going to be in the US, and Modi is going to be in the US in the month of June. We look forward to listen to them, meet them possibly, and exchange ideas. Of course, we're going to compliment Modi ji for his dynamic leadership. I may not agree on everything he does, but I think this is the best thing he did in 9 years, in my books.
Right. Also, the perception that has been created of the inauguration of the building of the new parliament building in New Delhi at Raisina Hill on Kartavya Path. What has been the perception of Americans, of media agencies in America across the globe, and the politics that has been brewing within the country? Has there been any reflection of it in international media, and how significant or non-significant has it been?
No, I've spoken to many Americans, not Indian Americans. They are in awe to see what progress India has made. And, I think as I mentioned, I watched a lot of television stations. Everywhere you see, there is all about Indian Parliament. So that itself has shaken and moved the world what India can do in the coming years. I think this is a symbol of unity, this is a symbol of India's leadership in the world. India don't want to go back history of 200 years of slavery and beyond that, and we want to move to the next 21st century, and we are already moving there, and 75 years of India's independence has showed that we can go from 0 to 100, and we have done that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Shivangi, for joining us on the telecast. Stay on with me. We have another half an hour to go. I have my other panelists. Let me get them all one by one and interview them, ask them questions. What do they feel about the new parliament building? I'm being joined by Balram Singh. He's joining me from Massachusetts in America. Balram Singh, it's good to have you on the telecast with us. Again, how does it feel? How proud do you feel sitting in America, miles away from your country, and this once in a lifetime, once in a century moment for the country that has come together, and for the countrymen from across the country and across the globe who have come together for this milestone achievement?
For inviting me to this program. This is a wonderful day. Actually, I'm right now visiting India. I'm joining you from Prayag, but it's so nice to see. Unfortunately, I could not go to Delhi to participate and see this. But I think that this is a transformative, symbolically, event. It's not, I mean, there is a need for a better building. There is a need for a building that can accommodate a lot more. I mean, the population was 300, 400 million when India became independent, and now we have 1.4 billion people. I think there is a reform coming up for the democratic system where more representatives will be there. There is all that is need there, in addition to the fact that a colonial structure, although adopted for Indian Parliament, we adopted the system. The first Prime Minister was very gracious. Mahatma Gandhi was very gracious to accept in the view of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, even though the people who may have colonized India, but Mahatma Gandhi and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, these people, they thought that they transferred the power in a very collegial manner as much as can be spoken at that time. Okay. We have adopted a system of governance which is not exactly Indian. I mean, this obviously the whole system.
Okay. So, what do you and millions and millions of Indian diaspora members across the globe feel, and what does the new parliament building signify to the Indian Americans?
It signifies a very large step forward to Indian democracy. India is the largest democracy, and we, living in America, live in the oldest democracy, so to speak, in which India has played a role, even though that time it was an independent India. It has played a role. I live in Boston Tea Party. The tea was from India. And India has inspired many thought-provoking ideas in America for democratic system. So it is a wonderful celebration of that contribution that you spoke earlier, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We do consider this idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is catching on. I think the G20 slogan is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And I have seen this flashing everywhere. I think people are very ecstatic about India's forward movement. And I think this is just one of those steps of having this new parliament, which, by the way, is a triangular, believe it or not, compared to circular. I'm a scientist, so I have this vision of thinking about these things a little bit more technically. See, you have a triangular, this is a very important thing, you need to have third party to solve the problem. So you have a now triangular thing rather than just circular parliament. And it is very important that these some symbols that talking about, I think, Sengol, it is a Tamil symbol of virtue. Why wouldn't you accept, this is in your own country. And I have done some research. Actually, I found that Tamil culture is a very old culture I went to JNU at that time. I didn't understand that much about South and North. I came from a village actually. But now I see that Tamil culture has huge impression on India's culture and philosophy. So why wouldn't you? I mean, if nothing else, it unites North and South because we have this building in the North, and if we brought some virtuous symbols from South, it will, if nothing else, at least that will add to that. So I think these kind of things should be welcome rather than unnecessarily criticized. And one more point, if I could, I come from a village originally from India, and let me say a couple words in Hindi. वहाँ पे जीवन मरण दो टाइम पे लोग people do not have a controversy. चाहे कितना बाकी whatever enmity you may have, the feelings here, but when there is a celebration, you join, and when there is a sadness, you join. So I think this is something that I unfortunately, if there are controversies, and I see there are in opposition and all that, I think everybody should join, and the whole world is joining. Actually, I see that whole world is very happy, not only because India is such a great country, it has huge democracy, but also, like you said, you know, they were, when they were in trouble during the pandemic, they still took care of others. I think that world is not forgetting, particularly the poorer countries of the world. They really remember that India has this big heart, and I think it should be celebrated. It should also be celebrated from that point of view.
Also, Mr. Balram, does the Indian diaspora community share this sentiment with the Indians over here, with the government of India, that this is a poignant moment for us where we have come of age, broken the shackles, perhaps one of the last shackles of slavery, which was reminiscent with the old parliament building that was built under the British era in 1927, and now in 2023, almost a century later, we are in a parliament complex in the new Sansad, the Sansad Bhavan, which is intrinsically Indian.
Absolutely, absolutely. Although I'm not very sure that I would go to the extent of saying that we have broken the shackles, because the parliament system is a British parliament system after all. But I think what India has done is it has done better. It has gotten the representation of all kinds of people, particularly the election of the current president from a tribal area. I think it's a wonderful display of integrating, accommodating everybody, and India has really moved forward in that sense. But I think India, I think Time Magazine has written something about this. I was seeing, and I was always dreaming for last at least 5 years that India should have the Smithsonian Mall type of thing, and I think this is the first step. I don't think it's there yet. A Smithsonian Mall, which has the powers, the White House on one hand, the Capitol Hill on the other, and then various museums displaying the entire country, America I'm talking about. I hope that this is just the beginning, not the end. This is not the final say. I hope that India's diversity gets displayed in this structure, not just for administrative purposes, but also for cultural purposes, whereby kids can go and learn about their country, that's such a humongously diverse country. So I really think this is just the first step. I think it will take a long time to get out of the shackles of the colonial era, because we have the system that is of that era. But I think we can make it much better for India and make it more suitable.
Okay. Also, India is now the largest country with the largest population in the world. It has surpassed China. We are 140 crore strong population of the country. Also, we are the 5th largest economy as per GDP. We are touted to be the 3rd largest, with the dream of reaching the 5 trillion economy perhaps in the next 3 years or so. Has the world come to terms with the greater stature that India at this point of time holds, whether it is economically, whether it is culturally, whether it is about perhaps India being the first civilization, the most ancient civilization from the Harappa period, from the time that the Tamil civilizations were, the Kilari civilizations were excavated?
Absolutely. I think India had always been popular throughout the world. Always. People have been longing. There had been genetic studies to suggest that the world's whole population, civilized population, has come out of India over 65,000 years. So absolutely, people have been longing. That's why they have been always going back. India is the only country that has an ocean named after it, Indian Ocean. There is no other country has an ocean named after it. And India did not ask for it. It's the world recognizes that. And that world recognizes the value that India carries. And I think that value is what people are looking for. And I tell you this, if India moves the way it is moving, and you're absolutely right, this population has gotten to number one. But also, as other speakers, Eric and Dr. Sivangi said, India has been serving Indians like us who have been serving the entire world without any hesitation. Many times, actually, a lot more generous. At least I know in the United States, that people have been very generously serving people. And because the feeling that they have, they don't feel like somehow we were never in any way have been given in trouble that we had to seek some kind of asylum somewhere. We were best educated. We went to America. We are highly respected there. I mean, politics is coming. I wish all the best for Rick Mehta for whatever politics in Republican politics, whatever he is getting involved in. But it's highly appreciated. Indians are highly appreciated because of their culture, where they come from. I have been to East in Taiwan and Korea. They also appreciate, they love Indians. You know, they love in a sense of respect. You know, they think that value in the culture, all that thing has come throughout the world, really from India. And Mahatma Gandhi is worshipped in so many places because of his way that he was able to deal with under very difficult situations. So I think India has a huge footprint. I think people will be appreciating.
Thank you, Balram Singh, for joining me on the telecast. Stay on. There's another guest I would like to introduce at this point, Suresh Joshi. He's a veteran UK journalist, broadcaster, author, and analyst. Thank you, Suresh, for joining us on the telecast. Again, my first question to you. Your first reaction, how do you feel? Is it an emotive moment? You are living miles away from the country, but does that connect you with Indians over here and India and the purpose and the concept of setting up the new parliament building at last?
First, thank you very much for the invitation. And this has been an icing on the cake as a Kashmiri Pandit. After the abolition of 370, we've been sort of blessed with this wonderful temple of democracy. We live in a place which we have chosen to be our country, but we got that Indian sentiment, as they say, Dil Phir Bhi Hindustani hai. We do care for it. And I think all the credit goes to our Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi. I think he's a miracle man. I see it, who can turn what was called a walking stick symbol into a symbol of power and authority. Having lived 60 years in this country as a student, university teacher, broadcaster, father, now a grandfather, I have seen a colossal change. Whereas originally the Indians here who came, it was labeled as immigrants. But now that has gone away. As the Urdu poet Mirza Ghalib said, "Yaron ne hamare bhav badha diye hai." And I think Modi ji have upgraded us. Though we live in this country, we care for it, and we are the citizen of it. I think our Prime Minister is a living example that we are returning, contributing, and doing a payback. I think this is a red letter day in the history of India.
Absolutely. Absolutely, sir. Again, what has been the sentiment of British Indians living in London, other parts of Britain, sitting so far away from the country? What has their sentiment been? Has there been an excitement? Are they gung-ho that finally we have, after a century, a new parliament building, a new Sansad Bhavan?
Well, I say, funny enough, this credit goes to the opposition in India who made us so much fuss. I got more calls when they rang for the last 2 days. Then say, Suresh ji, what is this single? Ye single kya hai? Kya hai? And I think Google had more hits to find out about this world than ever before. And other thing, if I may digress and say, we have given too much importance to the opposition. I think we should ignore this completely. On the lighter note, it reminds me of a village who didn't have a need yet, so they all took it in turns. I think we should go forward. This is our age, India's age. It is IT age, which is India technology.
Absolutely. Suresh ji, also very important occasion that is being looked forward by countries across the globe. The international media is going to be, has already kept its attention on India when it comes to the G20 summit that is going to take place in September. What should be the message that should go out from India, keeping in mind the number of these delegation level meetings and press conferences and workshops and conventions are being held in several parts of the country, including in Ladakh, including in Srinagar, and these have been contentious places, including in Arunachal Pradesh. Now, these are contentious places as per Pakistan and China, but a strong message being sent out by India.
Well, if you see, I don't know what sort of a narrative we get in India or any other part of the world. I rub shoulders with a lot of our Pakistani friends here. I think they take a guide from us. They are equally sort of excited about it, and they are dreaming of the day what happened in Berlin, that when this wall, this imaginary line of division is going to disappear, which is a sort of a very, very good note. But all I can say is the way India is progressing, we are the leaders and we should be proud of it, and also we should live to that expectation, what the world requires of us.
Absolutely right. Do you think there has been a dramatic change in the perception of the international community of various countries and how they look upon Indians, keeping in mind that we have been at the forefront of revolutions, whether it is tech revolution, running tech, big tech companies for global giants, being prime ministers, being the heads of the states, as was true for Rishi Sunak, who is now the Prime Minister of United Kingdom. There are several senators in America, there are several senators in Canada as well who are of Indian origin. We talk about Australia. So all these big nations have Indians at the helm of affairs, whether economically, commercially, or politically as well.
Oh, this is very true. And if you see, I draw the connotations of the Parsis in India, how they said they mixed with the milk, with the honey. Same thing is with us. But the only difference with our Indians, which one time the NRIs was called the non-required Indians. But now I think we, as I said, our dil is Hindustani, we can't get away with. We have lot to contribute to the world in general. And I think we are a living example. Again, I wish that we continue to go along with this. And if I say conclude, we have been certainly in UK and Europe, our status have been upgraded. Yeah. And I think we have to live to it. And I may not see that day, but my grandchildren will certainly see that. And I'm proud today that I have witnessed on the 17th of August, my family was in the middle of partition. I still carry a scar on my forehead, which was a very sad episode, but at least I think we are turning the tide and we can forget about the past and go forward and bring the Indian culture. And if I may quickly put in, like Mr. Mehta said and Dr. Sirpal said, it is not Hinduism at all. It is our way of life, and a part of our culture is that we worship and we respect all denominations. And look at that wonderful ceremony that everybody was contributing. And again, once I say, the best message from me is ignore the opposition. They are just a drop in the ocean, and let's go forward. And again, I would wish you and our Bharatis in India and of course the diaspora in United States this what they say, congratulations
Right.
and best wishes for the future, and certainly to the temple of democracy.
Thank you, Suresh ji, for those congratulatory messages. But one last question, and I would like to understand from you: has there been a perception that has been created internationally, particularly in UK, within the international media, within the UK media, about what has been happening domestically in terms of this politics that is being played, or are British newspapers and televisions and digital agencies not really concerned about what happens domestically in India?
Oh, the media in general has got its own agenda itself, but I can tell you a dipstick among the Asians, which I also represent, the Guild of British Indians and the Asian Guild. Certainly the so-called minority separatist ideology which existed especially in Birmingham and in London, that has disappeared in the last 48 hours. I think the Indians, especially the Punjabis, have really realized that what are we missing? And I think that aura which was an anti-aura of separatism, so-called Khalistan and others, it has suddenly disappeared. It's diluted like anything. And that has been my experience. And I think it's amazing. What more can you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Suresh, for joining us on the telecast. Stay on with me. I am also being joined by a young Indian Canadian, Kritika Singh. She's a student who is at this point of time in Canada. She joins me from Ontario. Kritika, good to have you on the telecast. And of course, my first question to you is going to be the same as I asked to my other panelists. How has your reaction been? What have you been feeling with the new Parliament building being inaugurated in India today?
Thank you so much for having me here, firstly. And I agree with everyone. I'm very proud of the thing that has happened. I think it was long due. We definitely needed a makeover for this Parliament building. And it is about time that we get out from the colonial shadow and, represent India as a democracy in front of everyone. And I agree with Rick, as he said that we have a very strong leader. Our Prime Minister Modi ji is a very strong leader. And when he says something, he completes it. So, when we look at it from like others' perspective, and we see that we have a Prime Minister who is so strong, it speaks a lot about our country. And secondly, when we look at the parliament buildings of other countries, like the Hungarian parliament or the Capitol in United States, it is very famous and compared to the parliament we had earlier. So I think we definitely needed a new parliament which depicted how our democracy, the culture we have, and whatever values the Indians share.
Right. Right. Also, is this also a depiction when it comes to practicality? When it comes to, yes, we require the Parliament building because the old Parliament building was stressed. You had to fill in people who would not be able to have the seating capacity. There were leakages on the ceilings. There were in fact not a number of seats that were available. There were paint stains even outside the building. Gives a bad impression, particularly for there are foreign delegates that are coming to the country. They are visiting Delhi. They are visiting the Parliament, and that's the face, that's the edifice of the country that we showcase. And this is what we are proud of. This is what our the place, the primary area where all the important decisions that then become the milestones for the country to progress are. Now, while that is a practical decision and now has been executed with full splendor, that is the new Parliament building, there's also a perception that has been created since the time of the foundation of the building that was laid 2 years ago by the Prime Minister, talking about how we have been able to once again break the shackles that we were in under the British era, which was also the old Parliament building that was symbolic of the British era back in 1927.
So when the construction started, I was actually there in Delhi, and I witnessed it from the beginning. Unfortunately, I'm not there when it finished. So people, I guess 90% of the people do understand why this is happening. The rest 10%, it's a democracy. Everyone has their own views. So they might not agree with us, but speaking for myself, I think it was very necessary. This new parliament, it not only serves the cultural purpose, but as you said, it serves the administrative purpose as well, because when people from other countries visit the parliament and they see the pan stains or anything else on the leakages, it doesn't give a good impression. So now when they do come, they would witness that, okay, India is magnificent, and it's new India, it's our India, and it's not just like growing economically. We have the best infrastructure over here, starting with our parliament.
Absolutely. What has been the sentiment? If you've been meeting a lot of Indians living in Canada, living in Ontario, in your society, in your schools, your colleges that you've been studying in, and Indians have there are a large population of Indian Canadians living in several parts of Canada, in Ontario, in other parts in Quebec, and several other parts of Canada. What has been the sentiment of the people? Have they been excited to then witness this glorious moment in the annals of our history?
Absolutely, like everyone is very excited and very proud of the new Parliament House, and so like as I'm a student, I interact with a lot of students coming from different countries, and now when I tell them about my country, I have something new that I can add to, and they recognize this. But now I would like proudly say that, okay, this is my country, I come from here, and we have everything over there, and we are growing as a nation. So yeah, everyone, I would be really happy because everyone would recognize India, and students here are like very happy with the progress, because everyone, I was at a party last night, and we were all discussing about how India has developed, and I had a couple of friends who have been here for like 20 years or 30 years, and all of them were saying like, we left too early. We should, seeing the progress of India, I think we should be there right now.
Absolutely. Talking about how the perception of the world and Canadians has changed towards the Indian diaspora, and it's a moment of pride when India is touted to be perhaps the third largest economy in the world in the coming years, maybe 2 to 3 years. And you said about how the perception of Indian Canadians has also changed, Indian diaspora has also changed, that you are being looked in a different light, upon a different light by the international community. Is there a renewed push that has been put forth, for example, Canadians, because perhaps India was left in obscurity maybe 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago. But today, whenever you talk about India, people are aware of what India stands for. People are aware that, you know, we are the 5th largest economy, we are the largest population, we are a technologically advanced hub. And there are a lot of Indians who are then at the helm of affairs, whether in politics or in economics or commercially.
Right. So, like, India has provided the nation with best of the brains, and even here in Canada, I see a lot of people working at higher level positions, and they are Indians, and they are very proud of it. And obviously, over through the years, the perception for India has changed. I mean, the people who came here earlier obviously wanted to escape from something when they came here, but now when I talk to them, they are very proud that their country is developing, and they do plan on coming back actually. So I think we should take that as a positive thing, that you know, the people who left are trying to come back and are happy to do so.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kritika, for joining me on the telecast. I also thank all my other panelists, all my other speakers. It was great to have you back on the telecast, Rick. It was fantastic, Dr. Sampath, for your views, Balram Singh, and my other panelists. It's been a fantastic telecast. I wish you all congratulations once again for this massive achievement that India has been able to take forth and become a global icon in the international community.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.